Hi, marketing minds. Welcome to another episode of Message Matters, an entire series dedicated to helping you understand the science and the art to creating a compelling message to attract more potential clients. This week, I want to talk about something where I have had 3 conversations just in the last 5 business days with fast-growing firms, and a common challenge with them often is cropping up over and over again. And I thought I would just opine on it very quickly, with investors clamoring for relevant advice, trusted advice. There are so many places to find sources of information and best practices and different pieces of tips and insights on what to do. Now, this could be for the investor market as well as for almost any area of consumer behavior and consumer product, but it's hard to understand where to find your ideal clients. And this is a question we get all the time at intentionally when we're working with clients is, where do I find these people? Where do they spend their time? Where do they make their decisions? And according to Mindforce, I was actually just reading this towards the end of this week, where a study was done earlier this year in 2025 that found 95% of financial decisions are made subconsciously. And to me, that was just so much reinforcement in terms of how important messaging is, because we're going around in our animal brains, we're making decisions subconsciously. They're often guided by our emotions or our thoughts and theories about how the world works, maybe mental shortcuts we're using in order to get through the decisions. And so many decisions, by the way, tens of thousands of decisions are made every single day, just as we move through life. And then there's perception and misperception. And in so many cases, we have this opportunity to mold a perception with every single touch point that happens with our clients and prospects. So this just begs the question, with so much of our animal brain turned on and using so much of our instincts each and every day, how do we break through that pattern when we're trying to reach people with a compelling message of value that can help benefit them or improve their life in some way? And what I'm starting to really understand here as we're working with clients is there's really an answer around motion and emotion. And this is something that we've been talking about. We're just discovering how much, and this is from a ton of research being done out there across verticals and industries, where we're starting to see just how much motion can influence a marketing message, and then how much that marketing message using motion can influence purchase decisions. And this could be, how to make investment products or financial planning advice feel more active or more rewarding for you. When you think about how to add movement to videos, how to add movement to a message, are you actively involved as a guide in that ever-evolving life of your ideal client? And how does that play out over time? Is that potential client seeing you as an active participant who's evolving along with them, or someone who puts forward a static message that may feel very antiquated and outdated? So along with all that desire for movement and dynamism in our messaging, we're also looking for emotional connection, and we're looking for that empathetic brand who just feels like they get us at every interaction. Accenture actually just came out with a study here earlier this year, and they had really found that the top 20% of banks in North America who were growing at a fast rate, in fact, most of them were using just all kinds of different client satisfaction surveys. They were looking at, all right, what is contributing to our growth? Because they were finding the top 20% of banks were growing 2.6 times faster than the rest of the market. And what most of these companies were attributing to that growth was high customer advocacy. So those clients who just were raving fans of the firm. Client satisfaction scores were up, of course, and presenting the company, they thought, in many ways as emotionally intelligent. These banks were seen as institutions that understood the core emotional need of their clients at the time. And I talk about this in almost every episode, but it was just even more reinforcement to what power emotion can hold. So what does this mean for you? As you're crafting your marketing message, it's often the first question I ask in our discovery conversations, but think about, can you define the exact feeling based emotion, like a feeling or a word based emotion that potential clients use right before they have that moment of need and they come to you for advice? And then what is that one word emotion that you can really nail down when you're finished working with somebody, or when they are on the other side of an experience with you and they realize how much you've resolved a challenge for them? What does that feeling look like? So what's that current state versus ideal state? Think about how you're going to memorialize that in your messaging. 2 is, don't underestimate this power of a marketing campaign to an underserved market. I was talking to an advisor this week, and he has a brilliant strategy around how to go after an unserved market that I quite honestly hadn't heard any other advisor go after yet. And there is no competition. There is nothing but opportunity in front of him. And he has a really great value proposition for understanding how he shows up in a place of being a guide for these individuals who are currently very underserved. So think about how you're just going to own a narrative in a space and in a place where nobody else is playing. And then number 3, finally, explore video as a way to just really help you reinforce number 1 and number 2 that I just mentioned. Video has this way of demonstrating empathy. It has this way of creating connection, creating the human side of financial advice. Or even if you're a fintech out there looking to appeal to other advisors, think about how you use video as a way to demonstrate thought leadership, as a way to demonstrate what your product can do in real case scenarios. And this is where I also see using video very advantageously is client success stories, and understanding how people can hear directly from others what their experience was like working with you, so they don't have to hear it from you. They get to hear it from someone else, and they often trust that message more. So explore those short social media snippets. Find easy ways to do a video like this in order to connect with people, because these are the messages that potential clients are really hungry for right now. There's never been a more crucial time to appeal to something deeper within each of us. You know, as we're going, there's so much turmoil in the world and so much uncertainty that we're oftentimes trying to just find an emotional connection to the brands that get us. So when the market's bored or annoyed or overwhelmed, there's nothing more refreshing than a brand that just gets us. Think about how you show up for them in that way. So tap into your story, share your vulnerability, share your challenges, figure out how to know your audience better than anybody else, and you'll see just how much your message matters.